So we're gearing up for the rematch that nobody wanted. It's Joey Biden versus Donald J. Trump. Unfortunately, the Democrats and the Republicans have decided that we can't even listen to RFK in these debates, but hey, let's just go with these two choices. For all the Democrats and their bluster in defending democracy, they'd love to actually limit our choices in our democracy. So let's listen to our sad excuse of media in this country acting like this is somehow a big deal.
ABC will host a September 10th debate with David Muir and Lindsay Davis as moderators. And next month, on June 27th, CNN will host Biden and Trump in the earliest general election debate in history, agreeing to rules that would cut off mics when it is not the candidate's turn and ruling out a live audience. We'll dive into all of that this morning, but first, a look at the tradition that began back in 1960.
So an interesting thing about presidential debates. So when Nixon debated JFK, the people who were listening to the radio actually thought that Nixon won, versus the people who saw it on TV thought that JFK won. The televised presidential debates actually can shift public opinion on who's actually got better ideas to run the country. I do think this whole thing is kind of bullshit because they're not allowing RFK into the debates, but he's polling high enough to be considered a serious candidate.
The Republican candidate, Vice President Richard M. Nixon, and the Democratic candidate, Senator John F. Kennedy.
It was the first ever televised debate with no live audience, but nearly 70 million Americans watching Richard Nixon sweat and the handsome young John Kennedy likely sealing his narrow victory. Anyone doubted that debate answers can make or break presidential campaigns? Remember this, Michael Dukakis's robotic answer to what was an emotional question.
Governor, if Kitty Dukakis were raped and murdered, would you favor an irrevocable death penalty for the killer?
No, I don't, Bernard, and I think you know that I've opposed the death penalty during all of my life.
Here's the answer I would have given to that question. Do some people deserve death? Absolutely. However, I think there's a real problem in giving the state this power. Number one, death is permanent. So if we actually convict the wrong person, we're going to execute an innocent person. About 7% of all executions actually get the wrong person. So in theory, I would be in favor of the death penalty, but in practice, I don't think it's okay to kill innocent people. If someone murdered my family member, yes, I would want them dead. But I do think humans are fallible and we make mistakes.
And you don't just have to watch your words in these debates. There was George H.W. Bush checking his watch, and Vice President Al Gore's exasperated sigh.
I want that 2000.
I moderated the vice presidential debate in 2012 between Congressman Paul Ryan and Joe Biden.
Why they're
Is he wrong about that?
He is wrong about that. You can cut tax rates by 20%. And still preserve these important preferences for middle-class taxpayers.
Not mathematically possible.
It is mathematically possible. It's been done before. It's precisely what we're proposing.
It has never been done before.
It's been done a couple of times, actually.
It has never been
Jack
done
Kennedy
before.
lowered tax rates, increased growth. Ronald Reagan.
Now you're Jack Kennedy.
It was a feisty yet civil debate.
And this footage reminds me how much this whole entire scenario sucks. Because Donald Trump has lost a step, but Biden has lost like 5 steps. Yes, they are both old, but Donald Trump wears his age a lot better than Joe Biden is. I mean, for fuck's sake, he's talking to dead people. If I could draw it up myself, I wish it was 2012 Biden versus 2016 Donald Trump. I think that would actually be a pretty good debate because Joe Biden was still with it and pretty sharp, and Donald Trump was very politically savvy when he ran the 2016 campaign. He actually embraced populist rhetoric. When I was listening to him, I was like, damn, he sounds like a Democrat on some of these issues.
Things have changed.
Such a nasty one.
4 years later, enter Donald Trump. I co-moderated one of the debates between Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton. It was, to say the least, challenging. Thank you very much. We're going to move on.
She went over a minute over, and you don't stop her. When I go 1 second over, it's like
You
a
had
big deal.
many
It's
answers,
really-
but that debate was nothing compared to what would follow in 2020, when Trump and Biden's first debate spiraled out of control.
I'm not going to answer the question
Why
because
would you answer that
because
question?
the question
You
is
want to put a lot of
the
new
question
Supreme Court
is
justice,
the
radical
question-
left. Will you shut up, man?
Listen, from endless interruptions to name calling.
Call me old-fashioned, but I actually like when both candidates were very civil towards each other. But I also understand the appeal of it turning into a WWE situation with Donald Trump. And that's why people like Donald Trump, because he's not cut from the same cloth like all these other politicians. Just because I don't like Donald Trump personally has no bearing on whether or not he's going to be a good president or not.
Wait a minute. You get the final word, Mr.
Well, it's hard to get any word in with this clown. Excuse me, this.
Hey, let me just say to you,
Trump combative throughout.
Can I be honest? It's a very important
Try to be
question.
honest.
He stood up.
No,
he stood up,
the answer to
and
the
he
question is no.
threatened Ukraine.
No, sir.
With $1 billion, if you
That
don't get rid of
is
the press.
You know what?
absolutely not
Stop.
true.
Tape doing it.
You're going to
On
have
tape.
True.
Gentlemen.
Nearly a month later, the final debate of that year, both men seeming to have learned a lesson, showing more restraint.
It's going to be interesting to watch this debate because I think both men are probably going to be hopped up on something. I agree with Donald Trump actually saying there should be drug testing before presidential debates because we had to take drug tests to even work in a fucking hospital, but you want to be leader of the free world and you don't have to take any drug tests.